This audiobook unveils the secrets long hidden by mystics and sages, how to awaken the third eye and access your inner sight. As you listen, you'll begin to see beyond the veil of the physical world. The Awakening. Introduction. In the depths of your being lies a dormant power, an ancient faculty of perception that transcends ordinary sight. This sacred gift, known through the ages as the third eye, awaits your recognition. It is not merely a concept to understand, but a living force within you, pulsing with the wisdom of countless generations. You stand now at the gateway of an extraordinary awakening. The knowledge contained within these chapters has been preserved by those who walked before you, those who mastered the art of seeing beyond the veil of physical reality. Their footprints mark the path you are about to traverse. This inner eye, this spiritual center of vision, has been known by many names across cultures and times. It is the seat of intuition, the bridge between worlds, the doorway through which divine wisdom flows. When awakened, it reveals the invisible threads that connect all things, showing you the true nature of reality that lies hidden beneath the surface of ordinary perception. Through this awakened vision, you will witness the dance of energy that creates your experience. You will see how your thoughts shape the fabric of your reality, how your beliefs create the patterns of your life, and how your consciousness directs the flow of universal forces. The ancient ones spoke of this power in whispers, protecting its sacred nature. They understood that true sight brings with it both privilege and responsibility. As your inner eye opens, you become not just an observer of reality, but a conscious creator, aligned with the infinite intelligence of the universe. This wisdom has waited patiently for you, preserved in the eternal vault of consciousness. It emerges now because you are ready, because something within you has stirred, recognizing a deeper truth calling you home to your own power. The journey ahead is not about acquiring something new, but about remembering something timeless. It is about reclaiming your birthright as a being of light, capable of perceiving and creating in harmony with universal law. Part 1. Veil of Illusion, the Dormant Self. Chapter 1. The Sleeping King. In a small village among ancient hills lived an old man named Walter. Each night he dreamed he was a beggar, wandering the streets with a wooden bowl, accepting scraps from strangers. He shuffled through his days, tending his modest garden, never knowing that in a past life he had worn a crown and commanded armies. The truth of his royal heritage lay dormant, buried beneath years of forgetfulness. Like Walter, you have forgotten your true nature. The divine power that courses through your being has been muted by the clamor of modern existence. Your spiritual sight has grown dim, clouded by the endless stream of distractions that fill your days. You have been taught to look outward for validation, wealth, and wisdom, while the greatest treasure lies within, waiting to be remembered. This awakening is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering who you have always been. The third eye does not need to be created. It needs only to be uncovered. Like a mirror beneath dust, Your inner vision simply awaits the gentle hand of recognition to reveal its pristine surface. In another village, far across the mountains, lived a young girl named Eliza. Her grandmother, whose silver hair caught moonlight like spun silk, would often gaze into Eliza's eyes and say, "Child, you have the eyes of the sky within you." Eliza would smile politely, dismissing these words as the fancies of an old woman. Yet strange things began to occur. The flowers in her garden would bloom precisely where she had imagined them. Lost items appeared in places she had dreamed about. When she thought of old friends, they would appear at her door moments later. Slowly, Eliza began to understand what her grandmother had seen. She possessed a vision that reached beyond the physical world. Your life, too, speaks to you through such signs and synchronicities. The universe constantly whispers its secrets, sending messages through seemingly ordinary moments. But like Eliza at first, you may have dismissed these signals as mere coincidence, your inner knowing drowned out by the loud voice of doubt. To begin awakening your forgotten sight, find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Close your physical eyes and place your hand gently upon the center of your forehead, the sacred seat of inner vision. Feel the warmth of your palm awakening this dormant center. Then, with reverence and expectation, speak these words aloud. What truth have I forgotten? Remain in this silence, allowing the ancient wisdom within you to stir and respond. Chapter 2. The Whisper Beyond the Mind. In the fertile valleys where wisdom grows as abundantly as wheat, there lived a farmer named Henry. Each morning he would rise before dawn, his weathered hands familiar with the rhythm of tilling and sowing. Yet one morning, as the first light painted the sky in gentle hues, something changed. The wind, which had always been merely wind, began to carry whispers. "Plant the eastern field today," it seemed to say, though Henry could not quite explain how he heard these words. Against all conventional farming wisdom, for the western field was traditionally planted first, he followed this ethereal guidance. That season, when an unexpected frost claimed many crops, only the eastern field survived, yielding the most bountiful harvest the valley had ever seen. You, too, possess this ability to hear the sacred whispers of the universe. The third eye speaks not in thunderous proclamations, but in gentle nudges, subtle knowings, and quiet certainties that transcend ordinary thought. Yet in your haste to rationalize, to analyze, to conform to what others deem sensible, you have learned to dismiss these divine murmurs. The voice of intuition flows like a silver stream beneath the loud rapids of your analytical mind. It requires not effort, but surrender, not striving, but stillness. When you quiet the incessant chatter of doubt and fear, you will recognize this voice as naturally as you recognize your own reflection. In a distant city lived Clara, a woman blessed with vivid dreams. One night, she dreamed of water seeping through her kitchen floor. The image was so clear it woke her, yet in the light of day she dismissed it as nothing more than nocturnal imagination. 3 weeks later, a burst pipe flooded her home, destroying precious family photographs she could have easily moved to safety. This tale mirrors countless moments in your own life when the inner voice spoke clearly, yet you chose the path of dismissal. Think back to those times when you just knew about a relationship, an opportunity, a decision, but allowed the rational mind to override this knowing. Each such moment was your third eye attempting to guide you. Your dreams are not mere night shadows. They are messages from your higher self, encrypted in the language of symbols and feelings. Through them, the universe offers guidance, warnings, and revelations. Yet, like any language, it must be studied to be understood. For the next 7 nights, place a journal beside your bed. As you retire each evening, whisper to your inner self, "Speak to me through my dreams." Upon waking, before the physical world reclaims your attention, record every detail you remember, no matter how insignificant it may seem. Note the feelings, colors, symbols, and faces that appeared. This ancient practice will begin to restore the bridge between your conscious mind and the infinite wisdom that awaits within. Chapter 3. The Law That Cannot Be Broken. In the heart of a bustling city, there lived a man named Franklin who once dazzled audiences with his masterful illusions. Night after night, he transformed the impossible into reality. Yet he never truly understood the deeper magic at work in his life, until he lost everything. Through a series of seeming misfortunes, Franklin found himself alone in a small apartment, his props sold, his stage days behind him. It was there, in the quiet of his solitude, that he began to notice something extraordinary. Every thought, every feeling he held returned to him magnified. When he woke up grateful for his modest breakfast, more food would mysteriously appear at his door. When he smiled at strangers, opportunities emerged from unexpected places. You see, Franklin had stumbled upon what the ancient ones called the law of echo, the immutable principle that shapes your reality with unwavering precision. This is no mere coincidence or flight of fancy. It is as reliable as gravity, as consistent as the rising sun. The universe operates through exact and unchanging spiritual laws. Just as a mirror reflects precisely what stands before it, your external world reflects your internal state with mathematical accuracy. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are not passive observers of your life. They are the very architects of your experience. Consider Mary, who dwelled in a small coastal town. Each morning she would wake to catalog her misfortunes. The weather was too cold, her neighbors too distant, her work unfulfilling. "Why does life treat me so harshly?" she would lament, unaware that her words were seeds planted in the fertile soil of universal law. As months passed, Mary's complaints flourished into fuller expressions of the very conditions she bemoaned. Yet one autumn evening, as she watched leaves dance in the wind, understanding dawned like the first light of morning. She realized that life had not been happening to her. It had been responding to her. The law of attraction stands as an unwavering force, as precise as any mathematical equation. It does not judge your wishes as good or bad, worthy or unworthy. Like a cosmic mirror, it simply reflects back the exact frequency you emit into the world, amplified by the infinite power of the universe. To begin working with this law consciously, You must establish a daily practice of intentional communion with the universe. Each morning, as the sun births a new day, stand before your mirror. Look deeply into your own eyes, the windows to your divine nature. Speak one command to the universe, not as a plea or a wish, but as a declaration of what is already manifesting. Let your words carry the weight of absolute knowing, for the universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are. Chapter 4. The Mirror of All That Is. In the heart of an ancient city, where sunlight danced through narrow streets, there lived an artist named Daniel. His gift lay not in capturing mere appearances, but in revealing the hidden truths that dwelled beneath the surface. As you journey deeper into these timeless principles, let his tale illuminate the sacred mirror that exists between your inner and outer worlds. Each morning, Daniel would welcome another soul into his studio, setting up his canvas with practiced care. Yet something peculiar began to emerge in his work. On days when his heart felt heavy with doubt, his subjects appeared shadowed and uncertain, regardless of their actual demeanor. When joy filled his spirit, his paintings radiated light, even when portraying the most stoic of faces. Through this revelation, Daniel uncovered what sages have whispered through millennia. The world you perceive is but a reflection of your inner state. Every person, every situation, every circumstance serves as a mirror, showing you the contents of your own consciousness. This truth extends far beyond art. Your entire existence operates as a divine feedback system, constantly showing you what resides within. The impatient clerk mirrors your hidden frustrations. The generous stranger reflects your buried compassion. Nothing exists in your experience that does not first exist within you. Witness the transformation of Lillian, whose life seemed trapped in a cycle of unfulfilling relationships. Partners would initially adore her, then gradually grow distant, leaving her wondering why love always slipped away. Through deep introspection, she discovered a pattern. Her relationships were merely echoing her own relationship with herself. As Lillian began to tend to her self-worth with the same devotion she had sought from others, a remarkable shift occurred. Her existing relationships deepened, new connections blossomed with ease, and the love she had always sought began flowing naturally into her life. Your world operates as a perfect mirror, reflecting back every belief, every emotion, every subtle current of your inner being. What you see out there is always showing you what exists in here. Like a crystal-clear pond on a windless day, your external reality cannot help but display with perfect accuracy the contents of your consciousness. When you truly understand this profound truth, you begin to recognize that every circumstance, every relationship, and every experience in your life serves as a divine messenger, revealing the hidden landscapes of your own mind and heart. Sacred practice. Take your journal and create 3 columns. In the first, list 3 patterns that consistently appear in your life. In the second, write the emotions these patterns evoke. In the third, uncover the inner belief that may be creating this reflection. Sit with each revelation, understanding that as you shift within, the outer must transform to match your new vibration. Chapter 5. The the seed of sight. High in the dusty corners of an old house where memories lay waiting to be rediscovered, young Tommy climbed the creaking attic stairs. Sunlight filtered through a small window, casting mysterious shadows among forgotten treasures. His grandfather's collection of curiosities had always beckoned him, but today something different caught his eye. A crystal, no larger than a robin's egg, in a wooden box. As you learn to recognize the signs of awakening, you will understand that such discoveries are never accidents. They are moments when the universe gently nudges you toward remembering your innate gifts. Upon holding the crystal, Tommy noticed something extraordinary, a soft, pulsing light emanating from people's foreheads. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks, but the lights persisted, each one unique in color and intensity. What Tommy had stumbled upon was not merely a crystal, but a key that unlocked his dormant vision. Within you lies this same sacred center, the pineal gland, known to ancient cultures as the seat of the soul. This tiny crystal structure in your brain holds the power to perceive beyond physical sight. Like a seed waiting for spring, it contains all the potential for expanded consciousness, requiring only your attention to flourish. In another town lived Evelyn, whose hands had helped bring countless lives into the world. Her story reveals another facet of this inner knowing. During her decades as a midwife, she developed what others called an uncanny ability, a knowing that transcended medical training. She would sense complications hours before instruments could detect them, feeling an unmistakable pull toward mothers who needed special attention. "I always had this gift," she later realized. "I simply needed to trust it." Her journey mirrors your own. These abilities do not need to be created, only remembered and embraced. The light you seek has never left you. It waits, like Tommy's crystal, to be rediscovered. Your subtle perceptions, those quiet knowings, those fleeting insights, are the first stirrings of your inner eye awakening. Practice the blooming light meditation. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine straight, allowing your breath to find its natural rhythm. Bring your awareness to the space between your eyebrows. Visualize a small, closed bud of light there, holding infinite potential. With each breath, imagine this bud slowly opening, its petals of light unfurling gently. Feel the warmth and radiance expanding outward, filling your entire being. Maintain this visualization for several minutes, allowing the light to pulse and grow naturally. Practice this meditation daily for 7 days, preferably at dawn or dusk when the veils between worlds are thinnest. Chapter 6. The Gatekeeper of Belief. In the grand halls of knowledge, where ancient wisdom rests in leather-bound volumes, Harlan stood guard over his domain of facts and figures. Each morning, he would straighten his wire-rimmed glasses and arrange the books with mathematical precision, finding comfort in their orderly rows. The measurable, the provable. These were his anchors in a world he believed should follow strict logical patterns. You, too, may recognize this devotion to what can be proven, this hesitation to trust what cannot be held in your hands. Yet, the universe has ways of speaking that transcend human logic. One night, Harlan dreamed of flames dancing through the library's west wing. The vision was so vivid that he could smell the burning paper. Upon waking, he dismissed it as nonsense, until 3 days later, when faulty wiring sparked exactly where his dream had shone. His quick action saved countless irreplaceable texts, but more importantly, it cracked open the door of his rigid beliefs. Your third eye remains dormant, not through lack of power, but through the barriers of disbelief you have constructed. These walls, built from doubt and skepticism, stand between you and your natural gifts of perception. The universe speaks in whispers, in symbols, in feelings that precede thought. When you demand proof before belief, you close the very channel through which proof would flow. In a small cottage by the sea lived Mabel, who discovered that belief was like a garden. Whatever she planted would grow. Each morning she would write in her journal, "I am open to the wisdom of the universe. My inner sight grows stronger each day. I trust the signs I receive." As she tended these new beliefs, her world transformed. Signs appeared with increasing clarity, and what others called coincidence, she recognized as divine guidance. This practice of conscious belief tending holds the key to awakening your inner vision. The thoughts you nurture become the lens through which you perceive reality. Your beliefs are not fixed structures, but fluid possibilities waiting to be reshaped by your intention. Sacred practice. Take 3 beliefs that have limited your spiritual sight. Transform each into an awakening affirmation. Where you once thought intuition isn't real, now declare, "My inner wisdom grows clearer each day." Replace, "I need proof to believe," with "I trust my soul's knowing." Transform, "Spiritual gifts are for others," into "My third eye awakens naturally and easily." Speak these new truths aloud each morning as the sun rises, when the veil between worlds is thinnest. Chapter 7. The First Fracture. In the stillness of his workshop, Nate ran weathered hands across rough timber, finding comfort in its familiar grain. For 20 years he had shaped wood into beautiful forms, yet now he could barely lift his tools. His wife's passing had left him hollow, a vessel emptied of purpose. As he sat among the sawdust and memories, tears fell freely onto the workbench. Then it happened, a strange shimmer in the air, like heat rising from summer pavement. But this was different. The very fabric of reality seemed to split, revealing gossamer threads of golden light seeping through cracks in the world itself. At first, Nate believed grief had finally broken his mind. Yet these luminous fissures remained, growing more visible with each passing day. You too have felt such moments when life splits open, when pain creates spaces through which truth pours in. These are not random, cruel acts of fate, but sacred initiations. When your world breaks apart, you begin to see through its illusion. The awakening of your third eye often begins not in joy, but in the depths of suffering. It is through life's fractures that divine light first enters. Your pain is not punishment. It is the chisel that carves spaces for wisdom to enter. Every loss strips away another layer of sleep. Every heartache cracks open another shell of illusion. Ruth understood this truth only after her marriage of 15 years dissolved. In the aftermath of that personal earthquake, she discovered something extraordinary: her intuitive gifts of healing others. The very wounds that had torn her life apart became doorways through which she could reach and mend other broken hearts. "I had to be broken," she would say, "to learn how to make others whole." Your struggles are not obstacles to your awakening. They are the very path of it. Each challenge you face serves as an invitation to see beyond the surface of things, to peer through the cracks in reality and glimpse the infinite light beyond. The practice of sacred release. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Take a piece of paper and write down a memory of pain or loss that still weighs upon your heart. Light a candle safely. Hold the paper and speak these words: "This pain has served its purpose. Through this breaking, I now begin to see." Carefully burn the paper in a fireproof container, watching as the flames transform your written words to ash. As the paper burns, feel the light of understanding filling the spaces where pain once lived. Complete this ritual by declaring aloud, "Through this, I begin to see." Chapter 8. Echoes from the Sacred Past. In a small attic room, young Lucy's fingers trembled as she unfolded the yellowed parchment that had mysteriously appeared beneath her pillow. The orphanage had been her home for 12 years, yet she had never felt such a stirring in her soul as when she touched this ancient scroll. The handwriting, delicate yet firm, spoke of mysteries that made her heart quicken. "To my granddaughter, who carries the bloodline of those who could see, you too are discovering an inheritance far greater than earthly possessions. The wisdom of the third eye flows through the veins of humanity's greatest civilizations." In the temples of ancient Egypt, initiates underwent sacred rites to activate their inner vision. The Eye of Horus was not mere decoration. It was a map of consciousness, a key to unlocking the gates between worlds. In India's sacred texts, the Ajna Chakra blazed with the same truth. Celtic seers spoke of the sight, while Mediterranean mystics wrote of the eye of the soul. This knowledge was not lost, it was hidden. As ages turned and empires fell, these teachings went underground, preserved in symbols and whispers, in art and architecture, waiting for those ready to remember. The third eye has been calling to you through countless lifetimes, through every culture that recognized its power. Henry, the farmer who once heard whispers in the wind, found himself drawn to ancient places. In weathered cave walls and Gothic spires, he discovered the same sacred geometry: spirals, circles within circles, the Vesica Piscis. These were not coincidences but confirmations, markers left by those who walked this path before. You stand now in a great lineage of seers and mystics, joining an unbroken chain that stretches back through the mists of time. Your awakening is not new. It is a remembering, a return to what was always known, what has always whispered in the depths of your soul. The symbols that catch your eye, the patterns that draw you near, are not random. They are signals from your ancestors in spirit, guiding you back to your inherited wisdom. Like footprints in the sands of time, they mark the path that countless initiates have walked before you. Each synchronicity, each moment of recognition, is a thread connecting you to this ancient tapestry of understanding. The very fact that you are drawn to these teachings shows that your spirit recognizes its own reflection in these timeless truths. Practice. Select an ancient symbol that resonates with your spirit, the Eye of Horus, the Sri Yantra, or the Celtic Triskelion. Draw it carefully or find a clear image. Place it where you will see it daily. Each morning, sit before this symbol in silence. Let your gaze soften as you breathe deeply. Feel the countless generations who meditated upon these same sacred forms. Allow their wisdom to flow through time into your awakening consciousness. This is not merely an exercise, it is a reunion with your spiritual inheritance. Chapter 9. Light in the Cave. Through the ages, stories have whispered of those who found light in the deepest darkness. In a remote mining town, Delilah descended into the earth each day, her lamp a small comfort in the endless tunnels. When the cave-in struck, crushing her lamp and leaving her in absolute darkness, panic threatened to overwhelm her senses. Yet in that moment of complete blindness, something awakened within. As the dust settled around her, Delilah noticed a curious phenomenon. Though her eyes saw nothing but blackness, images began forming in her mind, clear as daylight. She perceived pathways and dangers she couldn't possibly see. Following these inner visions, she navigated the treacherous maze of collapsed tunnels, eventually leading herself and 3 others to safety. You stand now at the threshold of similar darkness. The path of awakening often requires you to lose your familiar light before your inner vision can ignite. When external clarity dims, the universe creates space for your spiritual sight to emerge. This is why ancient mystics sought darkness, why meditation is often practiced with eyes closed, why revelation comes in the night. In the quiet town of Millbrook, Theo lost both his wife and his voice to illness. His world fell silent, and at first this silence felt like a tomb. But as weeks passed, something extraordinary began to unfold. Without the distraction of speech, without the constant noise of social expectations, Theo began to experience life in a new way. He noticed the subtle language of birds, the whispered messages in the wind, the unspoken stories in strangers' eyes. His loss of voice had awakened a deeper way of listening. These tales mirror the eternal truth. What appears as loss often serves as initiation. When your outer world grows dark, when familiar voices fade, you are being prepared for a profound awakening. The third eye flourishes in darkness, like a seed beneath the soil, drawing strength from the very absence of light. Ancient practice of dark sight. Find a space of complete darkness and silence. Settle yourself comfortably and close your eyes. For 15 minutes, allow yourself to rest in this darkness. Do not strain to see or hear. Simply observe what emerges in your inner vision. Images may appear, sensations may arise. Trust that in this sacred darkness, your inner eye is beginning to open. Practice this daily, for in darkness true sight begins. Remember, as you sit in darkness, you follow the footsteps of countless mystics who discovered that when outer light fades, inner illumination dawns. Your darkness is not an end, but a beginning. Chapter 10. The Inner Oracle Awakens. In a sunlit studio filled with the echoes of piano keys, Rose taught melodies to eager students. Yet something else was beginning to play through her, a different kind of music, one made of words and wisdom that seemed to flow from an unseen source. At first, these messages appeared as gentle whispers, barely distinguishable from her own thoughts. But soon they grew clearer, more insistent. One day, as young Timothy struggled with Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Rose felt words form in her mind. Without thinking, she spoke. The music you seek isn't in your fingers, but in the space between your heartbeats. Timothy's eyes widened, and suddenly his rigid posture softened. The notes began to flow effortlessly, as if they had always known the way. When you first encounter the voice of inner wisdom, it arrives not with thunder, but with the gentleness of falling snow. It speaks through sudden knowledge, through thoughts that feel both foreign and deeply familiar. This is the awakening of your spiritual sight. When truth begins to flow through you without effort or study. The key lies not in forcing these messages, but in creating space for them to emerge. Like a clear pool that reflects the sky, your mind must become still enough to receive. The universe speaks constantly, but its language is subtle, requiring a special kind of listening that comes from the heart rather than the ears. Remember Walter, the king who dreamed himself a beggar? His story continues. As his inner eye began to open, he noticed strange coincidences. The thoughts that crossed his mind in the morning manifested as events by afternoon. A passing wish for blue jays brought them flocking to his window. A moment of gratitude for health preceded an unexpected healing. The world had become a mirror, reflecting back his inner state with precise accuracy. Your own intuition already speaks with this same clarity. Think of those moments when you just knew, when a decision felt right without reason, when you sensed a truth before evidence appeared. These were not mere guesses or coincidences. They were glimpses of your inner sight at work. Ancient practice. The Oracle Journal beckons you to trust these first morning thoughts. Keep a notebook by your bed. Upon waking, before the world's noise intrudes, write down the very first thought that surfaces. Don't question or analyze. Simply record. What seems random today may reveal itself as prophecy tomorrow. This practice honors the delicate bridge between sleep and waking, when the veil between worlds is thinnest and wisdom flows most freely. Part 2. Sight Beyond Sight. The Eye Opens. Chapter 11. The Flame Between the Brows. In the heart of an ancient village, Samuel worked his forge as generations had before him. Each day he shaped metal with fire and force, his calloused hands dancing between hammer and anvil. Yet it was in the quiet moments, when the day's work was done, that something extraordinary began to unfold. As flames flickered in the cooling forge, Samuel would sit in stillness, allowing his breath to match the rhythm of the dying fire. At first, he noticed only specks of light, like distant stars behind his closed eyes. But as weeks passed, these specks transformed into vibrant violet streams, particularly intense at the center of his forehead. The awakening of inner sight often begins with such subtle signals. These violet flames Samuel witnessed represent the sacred fire of consciousness igniting within the pineal gland, your spiritual eye. This small, crystal-like gland, in the center of your brain, serves as more than mere biological function. It is your gateway to higher perception, your internal stargate to expand awareness. In the depths of a quiet classroom, Nancy experienced her own awakening. Between lessons, in moments of stillness, she began noticing a gentle warmth pulsing between her eyebrows. This sensation arrived with startling insights, solutions to problems she hadn't consciously contemplated. Without analysis or debate, she knew exactly how to help struggling students, which teaching methods would work best, when to speak and when to listen. These experiences reveal the physical signatures of third eye activation. The pressure, warmth, or tingling you may feel in your forehead is not imagination. It is the stirring of ancient wisdom, the awakening of dormant spiritual senses. Like a flower slowly opening its petals to the morning sun, your third eye responds to heightened consciousness with subtle yet unmistakable sensations. Some feel a gentle pulsing. Others experience a crystalline clarity washing over their thoughts. These physical manifestations have been documented by mystics and seers throughout the ages, appearing in sacred texts across cultures as markers of expanding awareness. When you notice these sensations, know that you are walking a path tread by countless seekers before you. Sacred practice, the violet flame meditation. Find a quiet space and light a single candle. Position yourself arm's length away, allowing the flame to rest at eye level. Breathe deeply and gaze softly at the flame without blinking for as long as comfortable. When your eyes need rest, close them gently. Notice the flame's afterimage transform in your mind's eye. Direct your attention to the space between your eyebrows. Visualize a violet flame growing there, pulsing with each breath. Practice this for 7 minutes daily, preferably at dawn or dusk when the veils between worlds grow thin. This practice, preserved through millennia, serves to awaken the light-receiving properties of your pineal gland. As you persist, you may begin to notice sensations similar to Samuel's and Nancy's, the first whispers of your expanding consciousness. Chapter 12. Symbols of the Seer. In the small hours before dawn, Martha sat at her workbench, fingers trembling as she sketched the image that haunted her dreams, an eye within a perfect triangle. Night after night, this symbol appeared to her, glowing with an inner light that seemed to pulse with ancient knowledge. When she later glimpsed the same sacred geometry carved into the weathered stone of St. Michael's steeple, her heart recognized a truth beyond coincidence. You live in a universe that speaks in symbols. These are not mere decorative elements or random occurrences. They are the alphabet of spirit, the hieroglyphs of higher consciousness. When your third eye begins to awaken, you naturally attune to this sacred language. Numbers appear in meaningful patterns, animals cross your path at significant moments, and geometric forms reveal themselves in nature and architecture. The universe crafts these messages with infinite patience, waiting for you to notice the patterns within the tapestry of your existence. A repeated number sequence on a clock, a feather that lands at your feet, a spiral shell that catches your eye. These are not chance events, but whispers from the infinite, speaking directly to your awakening consciousness. Jonathan discovered this truth when a peculiar symbol, a crescent moon embracing a star, appeared in his dreams 3 nights in succession. Though he didn't understand its meaning, he sketched it carefully each morning. Weeks later, while wandering through an art gallery, he found himself standing before a painting bearing that exact symbol. As he stood transfixed, a woman approached, wearing a necklace with the same sacred design. In that moment, Jonathan understood. The symbol had been leading him to this encounter, to the woman who would become his wife. Your life is filled with such symbolic guidance. The third eye perceives these patterns, these recurring motifs that weave through your experience. Yet understanding requires more than mere observation. It demands engagement with reverence and discernment. This is not about superstition or forcing meaning where none exists. Rather, it is about developing the wisdom to recognize genuine spiritual correspondence. Ancient practice, the symbol chronicle. Obtain a blank journal dedicated solely to this purpose. Each day, record the symbols that appear in your world, in dreams, meditation, daily life. Note recurring numbers, animals that draw your attention, geometric patterns that catch your eye. Include the context of their appearance and any intuitive impressions you receive. Do not rush to interpret. Allow meanings to reveal themselves gradually, like petals opening to the sun. Review your chronicle weekly, watching for patterns and connections. Trust that your inner eye will guide you to understanding when the time is right. This practice opens a dialogue with the universe's symbolic language, strengthening your ability to read the sacred signs that surround you always. Chapter 13. The Illusion of Time. In a small workshop filled with the gentle ticking of countless timepieces, George sat at his workbench, surrounded by the intricate mechanisms he had repaired for over 4 decades. Lately, something strange had begun to occur. Moments would stretch like honey dripping from a spoon, or vanish altogether during his quiet work. At first, he blamed his aging mind, until he noticed that the clocks themselves seemed to move at different speeds during these episodes of timeless awareness. The eternal now exists beyond the mechanical march of minutes and hours. Your third eye, when awakened, pierces through the illusion of linear time, revealing a vast expanse where all moments exist simultaneously. This truth has been whispered by mystics throughout the ages. Time is not a river flowing in one direction, but an ocean of infinite possibility. As your inner vision awakens, you may notice similar disruptions in your perception of time. These are not distortions, but glimpses of reality unbound by chronological constraints. In deep meditation or moments of pure presence, you touch this timeless dimension where creation itself springs forth. Olivia, a young artist, discovered this truth when she began experiencing vivid flashes of events yet to unfold. She saw her brother's car accident 3 days before it happened, giving her the chance to warn him to take a different route. She witnessed a friend's joy before they shared their engagement news. Yet doubt plagued her. How could she trust these visions that defied logic and linear time? What Olivia gradually understood was that her third eye had begun to access the eternal now, where past, present, and future exist as one unified field. Her glimpses of future events were simply moments of alignment with this higher perspective, where time reveals itself as a construct of limited consciousness. you too may begin to experience such moments of expanded awareness. Trust them. They are not supernatural abilities, but natural functions of your awakening inner vision. The third eye sees beyond the artificial boundaries of time, allowing you to access deeper truths and guidance. As your consciousness elevates, these glimpses will become more frequent and profound, revealing the interconnected tapestry of existence that has always surrounded you. Each vision serves as a stepping stone, leading you closer to understanding your role in the infinite dance of creation. Do not fear or doubt these experiences. They are sacred gifts bestowed upon those ready to perceive the greater reality that lies beyond the veil of ordinary perception. Practice the timeless moment meditation. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine straight. Close your eyes and begin to focus solely on your breath. Let go of all thoughts of past and future. With each breath, silently repeat, "Now is all there is." Continue this practice for 15 minutes, allowing yourself to sink into the eternal present moment. If thoughts of past or future arise, gently return to your breath and the mantra. Chapter 14. Thought as Divine Command. In a small village where gardens bloomed year-round, Arthur tended his plot with silent dedication. One evening, frustrated by persistent weeds, he muttered harsh words toward his beloved plants. By sunrise, his flourishing garden had withered to dust, every flower, herb, and vegetable blackened as if touched by frost. The power of his words, charged with unconscious force, had manifested instantly in the physical realm. You stand now at the threshold of understanding thought's true nature. Each thought you release carries creative force, a vibrational command that the universe must answer. In the awakened state, this power intensifies. Your consciousness, aligned with the third eye's vision, transforms mere thoughts into divine decrees. The ancient masters knew this truth. Thoughts are not ethereal wisps, but tangible energy, as real as light or sound. When infused with the clarity of awakened consciousness, they become blueprints that reality must follow. This is not metaphor. It is spiritual law. Consider Hazel, who discovered this truth through simple practice. Each morning, she stood before her window and spoke her intentions aloud. I walk in grace. I attract wisdom. I embody peace. At first, nothing seemed to change, yet gradually, her world began to shift. Subtle at first, then unmistakably. Books appeared that contained exactly what she needed to learn. Chance encounters led to profound connections. Her very presence seemed to calm troubled situations. Your thoughts, like Hazel's, are seeds planted in the fertile soil of universal consciousness. When you awaken to this truth, you must tend these seeds with greater care. Every casual complaint, every moment of worry, every flash of doubt, these are not harmless mental activities, but creative forces shaping your reality. Just as a gardener would never carelessly scatter thorns among their roses, you must learn to cultivate only those thoughts that align with your highest vision. Remember that the universe makes no distinction between idle musings and intentional declarations. It responds to all with equal creative power. This is why masters of manifestation guard their mental garden with unwavering vigilance, knowing that today's passing thought becomes tomorrow's living experience. The practice of sacred thought. Find a quiet hour each day for your thought audit. Notice each thought that crosses your mind, recording them without judgment. For every thought that dims your light, speak aloud its opposite in clear present tense language. Transform "I can't succeed" into "I am aligned with infinite possibility." Let each new declaration vibrate with the power of truth, knowing that the universe responds to every word. Chapter 15. Vision as the Morning Key. In a sunlit bakery among cobblestone streets, Rebecca discovered a truth as ancient as bread itself. Each dawn, before mixing her first batch of dough, she would stand quietly in her kitchen, eyes closed, visualizing golden light streaming from the center of her forehead. This simple practice, which felt natural as breathing, began transforming her modest shop in ways she couldn't explain. You must understand that vision, when coupled with unwavering faith, becomes the architect of your reality. As Rebecca's daily practice deepened, her small bakery transformed. Customers began arriving in waves, drawn by an inexplicable warmth they felt upon entering. Her bread, though made with the same ingredients, now carried a quality that transcended taste. It nourished both body and spirit. The universe responds not to what you think, but to what you radiate. When you align your inner vision with emotional certainty, you create a template that physical reality must follow. This is not magic. It is spiritual science, as precise as mathematics, as reliable as gravity. Consider Eli, who wandered from town to town trading precious stones. Before each journey, he would sit in stillness, seeing with perfect clarity the successful completion of his day. He witnessed in his mind's eye the perfect exchanges, the ideal connections, the abundant returns, all while feeling the joy of completion. Without fail, his days unfolded as previewed in his morning visions. What you see with your inner eye becomes the foundation upon which your outer world builds itself. This is why the ancients taught that all creation begins in darkness, in that sacred space behind closed eyes where vision first takes form. Your inner sight is not mere imagination. It is a spiritual faculty designed to shape reality. When you close your eyes each morning and project your vision with the certainty of the sun rising, you engage this divine architecture. Like an artist sketching upon the canvas of eternity, your inner vision draws forth the blueprint of what shall manifest. This sacred power has been known to mystics and sages throughout time, who understood that the eye of spirit sees with perfect clarity what the physical eyes cannot yet perceive. Through this inner sight, you become both the architect and builder of your destiny, molding the formless substance of the universe into the shape of your desires. Ancient practice. As the first light touches the horizon each morning, create a sacred moment of vision. Sit in silence for 5 minutes, eyes gently closed. See your day unfolding in perfect detail, each meeting blessed, each task completed with grace, each moment infused with purpose. Feel the deep gratitude of completion, as though your perfect day has already manifested. Let this feeling of gratitude fill your entire being. This is not a practice of hoping or wishing. It is a practice of knowing and commanding. Chapter 16. The frequency of the hidden realm. In the quiet streets of an old town, Daisy practiced her violin as twilight descended. Yet this evening, something shifted. Between the notes of Bach's partitas, she began hearing otherworldly tones, crystalline frequencies that seemed to dance just beyond ordinary perception. These sounds wove themselves between her practiced melodies, creating harmonies that existed in realms untouched by physical ears. You must understand that sound travels beyond the limitations of your earthly senses. The universe itself is a symphony of vibrations, each frequency opening doorways to higher awareness. When Daisy surrendered to these ethereal tones, her consciousness expanded beyond the confines of ordinary reality. Her third eye responded to these subtle vibrations, attuning her inner vision to dimensions that exist parallel to your own. The ancient mystics knew this truth. Sound is the chariot that carries consciousness across the bridge between worlds. Every note contains within it the power to alter your vibrational state, to lift you into alignment with higher frequencies of being. This is why sacred chambers were built with specific acoustic properties, why mantras have been chanted for millennia. Henry, now walking the path of solitude after his wife's passing, discovered this truth in his own way. During his morning walks, he found himself humming notes that seemed to arise from nowhere, tones that carried peace in their very essence. Those who passed him felt an inexplicable calm, their worried minds settling into stillness. Without knowing how, he had become a channel for healing frequencies. These sounds you hear beyond hearing are the language of your awakening third eye. They bypass the logical mind, speaking directly to the soul. When you attune yourself to these higher frequencies, you align with the very vibration of enlightened consciousness. Like the ancient mystics who spent lifetimes perfecting their resonance with the divine, you too can learn to recognize and harmonize with these subtle energies. Each tone carries within it a sacred key, unlocking dormant abilities that have waited patiently for your awareness to expand. As you open yourself to these ethereal frequencies, you'll find they guide you naturally toward states of heightened perception and deeper understanding. Ancient practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. For 10 minutes each day, listen to gentle binaural tones or engage in soft chanting while keeping your awareness centered at your third eye. Allow the sounds to wash through you, opening channels of perception beyond ordinary hearing. Trust that each session attunes your inner vision to ever higher frequencies of consciousness. Chapter 17. The Dance of Light and Shadow. In the halls of an ancient monastery, Florence moved silently through her daily rituals. Yet as her inner sight awakened, dark shapes began materializing in the corners of her vision. At first she prayed harder, hoping to banish what she feared were demons. But the shadows persisted, growing clearer with each passing day. You too must face these shadow aspects of yourself. They are not demons to be cast out, but messengers bearing gifts of wholeness. As your third eye opens, it illuminates not only the light, but also the darkness within, those parts of yourself you have hidden away, denied, or forgotten. The awakening journey demands complete honesty. Each shadow that appears before you carries a fragment of your own power, waiting to be reclaimed. Florence discovered this truth when one shadow finally spoke, revealing itself as her own buried creativity, a gift she had sacrificed in pursuit of spiritual perfection. Peter walked a similar path in the marketplace. As his inner vision cleared, he began seeing vivid images of his past failures just before each new business venture. These visions tormented him until he understood their purpose. Each memory carried a lesson, a strength gained through struggle. His greatest defeats contained the seeds of his future triumphs. The shadows you encounter are not obstacles to your awakening. They are essential catalysts for it. When you turn toward what makes you uncomfortable, when you embrace what you have rejected, you become whole. This is the paradox of spiritual sight. To see clearly, you must first welcome the darkness. Like a flower pushing through soil, your consciousness must journey through the depths to reach the light. Each shadow holds a gift, a piece of your own divine power waiting to be reclaimed. By facing these aspects of yourself that you have hidden away, you activate the ancient mechanism of transformation that lies dormant within your soul. The very thing you fear most often contains the key to your liberation. Ancient practice for shadow. Integration. Each evening, in the quiet of your sacred space, take paper and pen in hand. Write down one shadow behavior or fear that has surfaced during your day. Face it directly on the page, then ask with an open heart, "What gift is this showing me?" Let the answer arise from within, knowing that each shadow holds a light waiting to be discovered. This practice, passed down through generations of mystics, transforms what appears as darkness into stepping stones toward wholeness. Chapter 18. The Guardians of the Threshold. In a small cottage at the edge of a sleepy town, Jeremiah tossed in his sleep. 3 figures appeared in his dreamscape, a warrior wielding truth as his sword, a sage carrying wisdom's flame, and a child holding innocence's mirror. Each presented him with a challenge that reflected his deepest fears. You stand now where Jeremiah stood, at the threshold of expanded consciousness. As your inner eye awakens, you will encounter guardians of the gateway, aspects of yourself that test your readiness. These are not obstacles, but initiations. The warrior demanded Jeremiah face his shame. The sage required him to question his certainties. The child asked him to remember his wonder. Only when he surrendered his resistance did the visions flow freely, showing him paths he never imagined possible. This is the nature of spiritual awakening. It brings not only gifts, but trials. Your ego, sensing change, will raise armies of doubt. Your logical mind will present compelling arguments against what your soul knows to be true. These are not enemies, but teachers. Young Agnes discovered this truth in her classroom. When visions began appearing during quiet moments, glimpses of future events, knowing things about others she couldn't possibly know, she pushed them away. The whispers of her classmates' judgment became chains around her gift. You may recognize yourself in Agnes's hesitation. The world does not always welcome those who see beyond its veils. Yet suppressing your inner sight dims not only your vision, but your very essence. Each time you deny your knowing, a light within grows dimmer. Know this: resistance is not failure. It is part of the sacred dance of awakening. Like muscles that grow stronger through opposition, Your spiritual sight gains clarity through challenge. Each doubt you face, each moment of hesitation, serves to refine and strengthen your inner knowing. The universe presents these tests not to discourage you, but to prove the authenticity of your gifts. When you embrace rather than fight this resistance, you transform what seems like an obstacle into a gateway of deeper understanding. Within these moments of uncertainty lies the seed of your greatest growth. Consider how a pearl forms through the oyster's response to irritation, through persistent layers of acceptance and transformation. So, too, must you view the friction in your spiritual journey not as punishment, but as the very force that polishes your soul's wisdom to a brilliant shine. Those who have walked this path before you have discovered that their most profound revelations often came after periods of intense questioning. The divine law operates through this paradox. What appears to block your path actually illuminates it. Practice sacred release. Find a quiet moment and take pen to paper. Write a letter addressing your doubt or resistance as though it were a trusted friend. Pour out your fears, your hesitation, your uncertainty. Then, with gentle acknowledgement, bless this aspect of yourself and release it to the universe. Burn or bury the letter as a symbol of transformation. Chapter 19. Visions from the Other Side. In a sunlit studio filled with half-finished canvases, Jack stood before his easel, brush suspended in midair. A familiar presence filled the room. His sister Sarah, 3 years departed from the physical world. She appeared not as a specter, but as a warm glow of light that carried her essence. "The blue house on Maple," she whispered. "That's where your next commission waits." Though logic protested, Jack followed this guidance, and there indeed waited for his most significant patron. You too stand at the threshold between worlds. The veil that seems to separate physical from spiritual is but an illusion, a curtain of perception that grows increasingly transparent as your inner eye awakens. Through the ages, mystics and seers have known this truth. Consciousness extends beyond the boundaries of flesh. When your third eye opens, you begin to perceive the subtle realms that have always existed alongside your own. Like a radio finely tuned to the correct frequency, messages from guides, ancestors, and higher beings become clear. These communications arrive not as dramatic visitations, but as gentle knowings, subtle impressions, and quiet certainties. Rachel, a researcher who built her life on empirical evidence, discovered this truth in her laboratory. During her morning meditation, a practice she had begun merely for stress relief, a voice of unmistakable warmth began speaking through her thoughts. At first, she dismissed it as imagination, until it revealed the location of crucial research data she had been seeking for months. This guidance surrounds you constantly, waiting for recognition. The voices of wisdom speak not through supernatural displays, but through the quiet chambers of your heart. Your ancestors walk beside you, their knowledge encoded in your very cells. The guides who have watched over your soul's journey stand ready to share their light, if only you will listen. Like whispers carried on a gentle breeze, their messages flow through the fabric of your daily existence, appearing in synchronicities, dreams, and moments of profound clarity. They manifest in the sudden knowing that arrives without explanation, in the deep peace that settles over you in moments of stillness, and in the subtle nudges that guide you toward your highest path. These eternal companions have never left your side, patiently waiting for you to awaken to their presence. Ancient practice of connection. Each evening, as darkness settles, light a white candle in a quiet space. Let its flame represent the eternal light of consciousness that connects all realms. Sit in stillness and speak aloud. What message waits for me? Allow whatever arises, images, words, feelings, or memories, to flow onto the chapters of your journal. Trust that wisdom comes in its own language, often subtle but always profound. Chapter 20. The Eye That Creates. In a small cottage among ancient pines, Elias sat cross-legged before his drawing table. Each morning, as sunlight filtered through dusty windows, he would enter the sacred space between thoughts. There, images would flow through him, geometric patterns, landscapes he had never visited, faces of strangers. Without questioning, his hands would move across paper, giving form to these visions. You must understand that what flows through your inner sight is more than mere fantasy. It is the language of creation itself. When Elias discovered his drawings manifesting in the physical world, the spiral staircase appearing in a new building downtown, the unusual flower blooming in his garden exactly as he had sketched it, he touched upon a truth that sages have guarded through millennia. The third eye is both receiver and transmitter. This power of creation resides within you now. Each image that rises in your mind's eye carries the seed of manifestation. The universe does not distinguish between what you see with physical eyes and what you perceive through your inner vision. It responds to both with equal precision. Clara discovered this truth when her persistent daydream of teaching children in a sun-filled classroom transformed from fantasy to reality. The very details she had imagined, the green chalkboard, the window boxes filled with herbs, the circular arrangement of desks, materialized exactly as she had seen them in her mind's eye. What she had dismissed as idle imagination was actually her third eye crafting her future. You are not merely a witness to reality, you are its architect. When your inner eye awakens, each visualization becomes a blueprint that the universe faithfully constructs. This is not wishful thinking, but rather the application of universal law. Energy follows vision. Like a master builder who foresees the completed structure in their mind before laying the first stone, you possess the divine gift of creation through consciousness. Every image that rises in your mind's eye carries the seed of manifestation. The universe does not distinguish between what you see with physical eyes and what you perceive through your inner vision. It responds to both with equal precision. Clara discovered this truth when her persistent daydream of teaching children in a sun-filled classroom transformed from fantasy to reality. The very details she had imagined, the green chalkboard, the window boxes filled with herbs, the circular arrangement of desks, materialized exactly as she had seen them in her mind's eye. What she had dismissed as idle imagination was actually her third eye, crafting her future. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Close your physical eyes and allow your inner eye to open. For 10 minutes, build in your mind's eye a complete vision of your desired reality. See it, feel it, know it as already accomplished. Let every detail become vivid and alive. When the vision is complete, seal it with these words spoken aloud. So it is. Part 3. Sacred Authority. When Energy Becomes Law. Chapter 21. The Crown and the Command. In the quiet dawn, Margaret stood before her mirror, her voice barely a whisper. Today, abundance flows. By sunset, 3 unexpected gifts arrived at her door. The next morning, joy surrounds me. Within hours, laughter filled her usually somber household. With each passing day, her declarations grew bolder, and the universe responded with increasing precision. You now stand at this same threshold of power. The time of asking is complete. The hour of commanding has arrived. Your third eye, when united with your crown chakra, forms a circuit of divine authority. This is not the authority of ego, but the natural sovereignty of a soul awakened to its true identity. Through this awakened circuit, your words become law, not through force or will, but through alignment with the very power that spins worlds. You are learning what the ancient masters knew, that reality bows to those who speak with the voice of their divine nature. Franklin discovered this truth after years of begging the universe for scraps. One morning, gazing at his reflection, he saw past the illusion of the struggling magician. In that moment, he recognized himself as an heir to universal power. His performances transformed from mere tricks into demonstrations of genuine magic. His audiences felt it too, the shift from entertainment to transformation. Your own authority awaits this same recognition. The power you've sought has always resided within you, dormant until this moment of claiming. This is not about manifesting desires. It is about embodying your divine birthright. Each morning as you stand before your mirror, you have the opportunity to speak with this renewed authority. Your words, charged with the energy of your awakened third eye and crown chakra, become commands to the cosmic forces that shape reality. In this sacred moment of communion with your higher self, the veil between the physical and spiritual realms grows thin. The mirror becomes more than mere glass. It transforms into a portal through which you witness your own divine nature reflected back at you. Here, in this intimate space of self-recognition, your declarations carry the weight of universal law, for you speak not as a mortal being, but as a conscious creator aligned with infinite power. Practice. Begin each day with the spoken phrase, "I declare my energy as sacred law, so shall it be." Speak these words while standing tall, feeling the connection between your third eye and crown chakra. Let your voice carry the certainty of one who knows their true nature. Chapter 22. Living as the Oracle. In a small town among ancient hills, Helen spent her days surrounded by books, quietly arranging volumes in their proper places. Yet within her calm exterior stirred a gift she could no longer ignore. It began with simple knowledge: which patron would visit next, what book they truly needed rather than the one they sought. Soon, Her gentle suggestions became whispered prophecies that materialized with startling accuracy. You, too, carry this capacity for sustained communion with the unseen realms. The difference between random intuitive flashes and living in constant visionary alignment lies in your willingness to trust the continuous flow of wisdom that moves through you. When Helen finally surrendered to her gift, she discovered that vision was not meant to be an occasional visitor, but a constant companion. The universe speaks not in sporadic bursts, but in an endless stream of guidance, if only you remain receptive to its voice. Your inner sight grows stronger through regular use, like a muscle gaining strength through exercise. Yet many still treat their intuition as unreliable, questioning each insight until its power dissolves in doubt. This resistance stems not from lack of ability, but from fear of embracing your full spiritual authority. Nate, who once saw cracks of light in moments of grief, now stands firmly in his visionary power. Where once he questioned the images that appeared before his inner eye, he now translates them with unwavering confidence. His journey from reluctant seer to trusted guide mirrors the path that awaits you. The visions that arise within you are not random accidents or imagination. They are messages from the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all of creation. Each insight carries a seed of truth meant to bloom in the garden of your understanding. Those who live in sustained visionary alignment no longer question whether their inner sight speaks truth. They have learned to distinguish between the mind's chatter and the clear stream of divine wisdom. This distinction comes not through analysis, but through surrender to the flow of higher knowing. Like a master musician who no longer doubts each note, but allows the melody to flow through them, these seers have cultivated an unwavering trust in their connection to universal intelligence. They understand that the veil between ordinary perception and divine insight grows thinner with each moment of acceptance, each breath of faith in their own spiritual discernment. The questioning mind falls silent in the presence of such profound inner certainty, replaced by an innate knowing that transcends the need for proof or validation. Practice. Find a quiet space each morning where you can sit undisturbed. Take 3 deep breaths, centering your awareness in your third eye. With pen and paper ready, write the sentence, "The truth I carry today is." Then allow whatever follows to flow onto the page without judgment or editing. Trust that the wisdom emerging through you carries the authority of your awakened sight. Chapter 23. Miracles as Momentum. In a village where seasons moved at their own pace, Dorothy tended her garden with more than just hands and tools. Each seed she planted carried a whisper of her intention. Each watering held the energy of her vision. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in amber hues, she walked among her fruit trees, touching each one while holding a clear image of abundance in her mind. When dawn broke, the villagers gathered in astonishment. Dorothy's entire orchard had transformed overnight. Trees that were mere saplings now stood tall and laden with ripe fruit. Flowers bloomed out of season, and vegetables reached full maturity in an impossible time. You possess this same power of acceleration. When you align your inner sight with the natural flow of universal energy, time bends to accommodate your vision. What appears as a miracle to others is simply the law responding to clear intention. The art of manifestation lies not in forcing outcomes through will, but in allowing your inner light to naturally draw forth what already exists in potential. Just as a flower doesn't strain to bloom, your desires unfold with grace when you learn to command through being rather than doing. In a distant town, Eliza, who once dismissed her grandmother's words about having the eyes of the sky, now moved through life as though dancing with destiny itself. Where once she questioned every intuitive nudge, she now flowed with such certainty that opportunities appeared before she could name them. Her life became a symphony of synchronicities, each moment perfectly orchestrated by her alignment with universal flow. This represents your own journey from doubt to mastery, a path each seeker must walk as they awaken to their divine inheritance. The universe responds not to what you do, but to who you are in each sacred moment. Your state of consciousness creates ripples through the cosmic fabric far more powerful than any physical action. When your vibration matches your vision, when your inner knowing aligns perfectly with your deepest desires, reality reshapes itself around you with effortless precision. Like a master composer conducting a grand symphony, you need only hold the perfect note of your intention, and all the instruments of creation will play in harmony with your song. Sacred practice. As each day draws to a close, sit in quiet reflection. Record 3 instances of divine orchestration in your life, moments where grace flows without effort. These may appear small, a perfectly timed encounter, an unexpected solution, a moment of inexplicable peace. After writing each one, speak these words with quiet authority. I live in the flow of the miraculous. This ritual trains your inner eye to recognize the constant stream of magic that surrounds you. For in truth, miracles are not rare exceptions to universal law. They are its natural expression through a consciousness in perfect alignment. Chapter 24. Love as the Lawgiver. In a small town touched by morning light, Charles stood at attention before his garden, a habit carried from years of military service. His hands, once trained for combat, now held a watering can with uncertainty. The war had taught him that force could move mountains, but something deeper stirred within as he watched a butterfly land softly on a flower. You see, the universe responds not to might, but to the gentle current of love flowing from an awakened heart. As Charles learned to replace command with compassion, his garden flourished beyond explanation. The same energy that transforms gardens transforms lives. When you align with love's frequency, reality bends to meet your tender attention. The power you seek lies not in controlling circumstances, but in blessing them. This truth reveals itself in the sacred practice of seeing through eyes of love. When you release the need to force outcomes, you activate a higher law, the law of divine attraction. In a quiet monastery garden, Florence discovered this same truth. Where once she saw only shadows of her own fear, she began offering silent blessings to every person, plant, and situation she encountered. "May you be blessed," she would whisper to the morning dew, to the tired shopkeeper, to the crying child. As these blessings flowed, the world around her began to soften. Doors that seemed locked swung open of their own accord. Hearts that appeared closed bloomed in her presence. This is the hidden teaching. Love is not merely an emotion. It is the creative force of the universe itself. When you bless what you see, you become a channel for this force. Your third eye, awakened by love's vibration, begins to perceive the interconnected web of divine energy flowing through all things. Like a master alchemist transforming base metals into gold, your loving awareness transmutes the ordinary into the sacred. Each blessing you offer ripples outward through the cosmic fabric, touching lives in ways your mortal eyes cannot yet perceive. This is the ancient mystery that sages and mystics have guarded through the ages. That love, in its purest form, is the very power that shapes worlds and moves mountains. Sacred practice. As you move through each day, pause regularly to offer silent blessings. Look upon each person, place, or situation and whisper inwardly, "I see the divine in you." Let this practice become your natural way of seeing. Notice how reality responds when viewed through the eyes of love. Chapter 25. Walking the Timeless Path. In the heart of an ancient clockmaker's shop, young James spent his days surrounded by the steady tick of timepieces. Each morning he would wind the precious mechanisms with practiced precision, until one day he felt a shift in his consciousness. The watches continued their mechanical dance, but James began moving to a different rhythm, one that pulsed from within. You possess this same inner timekeeper, a sacred metronome that knows the perfect moment for every action. When you release your grip on artificial time, you align with the universe's natural flow. This wisdom emerges not from forcing or rushing, but from surrendering to divine timing. The mechanical clock measures moments, but the awakened spirit flows with cycles of creation. Through your third eye, you perceive these cycles, knowing intuitively when to advance and when to rest. This is not rebellion against time, but transcendence of its limitations. Rebecca, the baker who once planned every minute, discovered this truth through necessity. One morning, her kitchen timer broke, leaving her to trust her intuition about when the bread was ready. To her amazement, every loaf emerged perfect, and her business flourished beyond measure. She had stumbled upon the secret. When you release rigid timing, life arranges itself with elegant precision. You see, linear time is but one dimension of experience. In the realm of spirit, timing flows like water, natural, effortless, perfect. Your inner eye knows this rhythm. It pulses with the same force that opens flowers and turns tides. When you trust this force, you step into a state of grace where everything unfolds in its perfect season. This truth unveils itself through surrender. As you release the need to control every moment, you enter the flow state of the universe itself. Here, manifestation accelerates not through force, but through alignment with divine timing. Like a leaf carried effortlessly downstream, you discover that resistance only creates turbulence in the perfect orchestration of events. The universe operates with an intelligence far beyond the limits of human scheduling. It sees the complete tapestry of existence, weaving together countless threads of circumstance into a masterpiece of perfect timing. When you surrender to this divine intelligence, you tap into a power that has orchestrated the dance of galaxies since the dawn of time. Sacred practice. Choose one day to live without watches or clocks. Let your inner wisdom guide each action. Eat when your body calls for nourishment. Rest when your spirit seeks stillness. Move when energy rises within you. Trust that the universe orchestrates perfect timing through you. Notice how life flows when you surrender to this natural rhythm. Chapter 26, The Language of the Divine Mind. In a small cottage overlooking rolling hills, Miriam sat at her writing desk each morning. Though the world had been silent to her ears since birth, her inner world grew ever more alive with sound. At first, she dismissed the whispers as imagination, until the thoughts began carrying wisdom far beyond her own experience. Poetry flowed through her mind in languages she had never learned, and insights about strangers proved startlingly accurate. You, too, possess this capacity for divine reception. The third eye serves as an antenna, attuning your consciousness to the infinite stream of universal mind. When the physical senses quiet, the spiritual ones awaken. Your thoughts are not isolated within your skull. They flow in an ocean of consciousness that connects all beings. Through the awakened eye, you tap into this cosmic network. The universe speaks not in sound waves, but in pure knowing. This is why meditation masters have long taught that true hearing happens in silence. When you still hear the endless chatter of the personal mind, you create space for higher wisdom to enter. Arthur discovered this truth during his daily walks through the ancient forest. After his experience with the withered garden, he learned to listen differently. The trees began sharing secrets, not through words, but through direct knowing. He realized that nature itself is a living library of wisdom, accessible through the quiet mind. This communication differs from imagination or wishful thinking. Divine downloads carry a distinct signature. They arrive with clarity, often accompanied by a subtle pressure at the third eye center. They feel both foreign and deeply familiar, like remembering something you've always known. You need not be physically deaf like Miriam to access this wisdom. The key lies in cultivating inner silence. When you release the need to fill every moment with noise, you open the channel to receive. The universe speaks constantly, through synchronicities, through nature, through sudden knowing. Your task is simply to listen. Practice. Find a natural setting, a park, a garden, or wilderness. Walk in complete silence for at least 30 minutes. As you walk, hold the question in your heart. What does the universe want me to know? Pay attention to the first clear thought or sentence that arrives. Write it down immediately, without judgment or analysis. This message contains a seed of truth meant specifically for you at this moment. Chapter 27. The Portal Within the Silence. In a sunlit conservatory filled with dust-covered instruments, Virginia sat motionless at her beloved piano. The silence that had descended upon her world 3 months ago felt absolute. Yet in this enforced quiet, something extraordinary began to unfold. As she closed her eyes in meditation, intricate geometric patterns emerged from the darkness, sacred mandalas spinning like living jewels, doorways opening into realms beyond physical sight. You stand now at a similar threshold. The noise of the world has trained you to seek wisdom through external channels, but the deepest truths await in silence. When you allow yourself to sink beneath the surface of thought, consciousness reveals its sacred architecture, the geometric blueprints of creation itself. These inner realms are not mere fantasy or escape. They are dimensional doorways through which divine wisdom flows. Just as Virginia discovered, physical limitations often serve as initiations into expanded awareness. What seems like loss becomes the gateway to profound gain. The patterns you may glimpse in deep meditation are the same that mystics and seers have witnessed throughout the ages. They are the visual language of higher consciousness, showing you the underlying structure of reality itself. Like Virginia, you need only be still enough to perceive them. Daisy had once sought answers in the audible tones that others couldn't hear. But as she learned to embrace complete silence, she discovered that stillness itself contained all she had been seeking. The soundless space between thoughts became her greatest teacher. This truth awaits your discovery. Silence is not empty. It is full of light, wisdom, and revelation. When you cease the endless reaching for external answers and rest in pure awareness, the veils between worlds naturally part. You become the seeing itself. Your inner eye opens not through effort, but through surrender. Like Virginia at her silent piano, simply allow yourself to be still. Let the geometric gardens of higher consciousness bloom naturally within your awareness. The portal is not something you create. It is what you already are. Practice. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Sit with your spine straight, eyes gently closed. For 20 minutes, breathe slowly and deeply while silently repeating, "I am the gate." If thoughts arise, let them pass without resistance. Allow any patterns, lights, or images to emerge naturally without seeking or grasping. Simply witness what unfolds in the space of your awareness. Chapter 28. The Circle of the Infinite Self. On a windswept beach at sunset, Edward knelt beside his young grandson, his weathered hand drawing a perfect spiral in the wet sand. "This is you, never ending," he whispered, his finger tracing the eternal curve that spiraled outward infinitely. The boy watched, mesmerized as the pattern seemed to pulse with life in the fading light. You too are this spiral, an eternal consciousness expressing itself through time and space. Your current awareness is but one point on an infinite curve that extends both backward and forward through existence. The third eye, once awakened, reveals not only the present moment, but the vast tapestry of your soul's journey. Your consciousness does not begin with birth, nor end with death. It flows like a river through multiple dimensions, parallel realities, and countless expressions of being. What you call you is a focal point of awareness in an ocean of infinite possibility. Each lifetime adds its wisdom to the spiral, expanding your understanding of who you truly are. The awakening you experience now ripples both forward and backward through time, touching all aspects of your eternal being. Just as Clara discovered when she dreamed of tending herbs in a medieval garden, a vision that suddenly explained her inexplicable knowledge of healing plants. Through this glimpse of a past existence, She understood that her current life's purpose was not random, but part of an unfolding spiritual sequence. Your struggles, talents, and inexplicable knowings are often echoes from other points on your soul's spiral. The déjà vu you experience, the instant recognition of certain places or people, the skills that come naturally without learning. These are memories from other turns of the spiral, other expressions of your eternal self. This awakening is not a beginning, but a remembering. Your third eye opens not to something new, but to the truth that has always been. You are remembering who you are across time, across space, across dimensions. Each insight, each moment of clarity, each expansion of consciousness is your eternal self recognizing itself once more. Ancient wisdom speaks of the Akashic records, the cosmic library where every soul's journey is recorded. As your inner vision clarifies, you may glimpse chapters from this eternal book, understanding how past experiences inform your present path. Your current awakening is the culmination of many lifetimes of seeking, now flowering in perfect timing. Practice. Take a moment now to connect with your eternal nature. Find a quiet space and write a letter to your future self, 5 years from now, beginning with the words, "Thank you for remembering who we are." Let the wisdom of your infinite being flow through your words, acknowledging the spiral nature of your soul's journey. Chapter 29. Reality bows to the aligned. In a small village among ancient hills, Samuel stood beneath storm clouds that had threatened rain for days. With quiet certainty he spoke. "Let the sun shine." Within moments the dark clouds parted, revealing golden rays that warmed the earth. This was no coincidence. It was the natural response of a universe attuned to his aligned consciousness. You now approach the threshold where thought becomes command. When your third eye fully awakens, reality itself becomes responsive to your energetic signature. This is not magic, but natural law. For the outer world must mirror the inner state of one who has achieved divine alignment. The universe operates through frequency. When your thoughts, emotions, and energy field harmonize with divine truth, creation has no choice but to conform to your vision. This is not about forcing or willing. It is about becoming. Samuel did not fight against the clouds. He simply held the frequency of sunlight within his being. Consider Lillian, who once struggled with reflecting others' energy. As her inner sight awakened, she began holding steady to her own truth. First, her home transformed. Objects seemed to arrange themselves in perfect order. Then her relationships shifted. Toxic connections naturally dissolved while nurturing ones blossomed. Finally, her entire reality began operating in a new octave, as though the world itself had risen to meet her elevated frequency. This is your birthright, not as something to achieve, but as something to remember. The outer world is not solid, it is responsive. It awaits your conscious command, not through force, but through alignment. When you speak from this place of unity, the universe listens. Like a master musician conducting an infinite orchestra, you need only raise your inner vibration to the frequency of your desires, and reality will arrange itself accordingly. The physical world you see before you is but the final expression of deeper spiritual forces, forces that you, in your divine essence, already know how to conduct. This wisdom lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened through the remembrance of who you truly are. Sacred practice. Before making any decision, whether seemingly significant or mundane, pause and ask yourself, is this aligned with my highest vision? Let the answer arise not from thought, but from the quiet knowing of your awakened I. Move forward only when you feel the resonant yes that signals divine alignment. This practice will gradually attune your entire being to operate from your highest frequency. Chapter 30. You were always the master. In the same village where our journey began, Walter now walks with a presence that commands attention without seeking it. His eyes, once clouded by forgetfulness, now shine with the light of remembrance. Children whisper that he glows, though he never speaks of his awakening. When asked about his transformation, he simply smiles and points to his heart, then to his brow. You have walked this path of remembrance alongside Walter. Like him, you came to these teachings wearing the cloak of amnesia, forgetting the divine power that has always resided within. Through each chapter, each parable, each practice, you have not been learning, but remembering. The third eye was never closed. It was simply waiting for you to recognize its eternal vigilance. The power to shape reality was never lost. It was patiently dormant until you recalled your sovereign nature. The wisdom you now hold was not given to you. It was unveiled within you. Helen, who once questioned every intuitive flash, now guides others with unwavering certainty. In her small library-turned sanctuary, she helps others recognize their own inner light. I don't teach them anything new, she often says. I simply hold up a mirror until they see what was always there. You stand now at the completion of a circle, yet this is not an ending. It is a recognition. The seeker has become the sage. The student has remembered they were always the master. The power you once searched for in ancient texts and sacred teachings now pulses in perfect clarity between your brows. This is the moment of full remembrance, the sacred recognition that has been waiting patiently in the depths of your soul. You are not becoming something new. You are returning to what you have always been, a conscious creator, a wielder of divine sight, a master of energy. Like a veil lifting from ancient wisdom, you stand at the threshold of your own infinite potential, rediscovering the truth that has whispered through the corridors of time. The power you seek has never been separate from you. It has simply waited for you to remember your divine inheritance. Sacred practice. Take your journal and write in bold letters at its crown, I am a master of energy. Then let your hand move across the page without censorship or doubt. Pour onto paper every truth that has awakened within you. Write until your soul has spoken its full wisdom. This is not a record of what you have learned. It is a declaration of what you have remembered. Conclusion. Through these chapters, you have undergone a metamorphosis that the ancients spoke of in whispered tones. The transformation is not merely in what you have learned, but in who you have become. Your energy now carries the resonance of certainty, the unmistakable frequency of one who knows. When you move through the world, reality responds differently. Not because the laws have changed, but because you have aligned with their true nature. The universe no longer appears as an external force to be petitioned, but as an extension of your own consciousness, eager to mirror your clarity. Your thoughts now carry the weight of divine command. Each intention you set ripples through the fabric of existence with pristine precision. This is not the realm of wishful thinking or desperate pleading. It is the domain of one who understands the mechanics of creation. The signs and synchronicities that once seemed mysterious now reveal themselves as the natural language of your awakened consciousness. You read the subtle messages woven into everyday moments with the ease of one who has remembered their native tongue. This awakening extends beyond personal transformation. You have stepped into an ancient lineage of those who walked before you, the mystics who understood that reality is responsive to the frequency of consciousness. Their wisdom now flows through you, not as borrowed knowledge, but as remembered truth. Your presence alone has become a catalyst for change. Others may notice something different about you, a certain light in your eyes, a quiet authority in your words. This is the natural radiance of one who has reunited with their divine nature. You no longer seek validation from external sources, for you have touched the unchanging truth within. The power you once searched for has revealed itself as your very essence. You are no longer the questioner. You are the answer. This awakening is not the end of your journey, but rather your true beginning. You now move through life as one who sees, who knows, who creates with conscious intent. The universe bends to your will not through force, but through perfect resonance with your awakened state. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective.